Good morning guys, welcome back to another awesome episode. This is going to be probably the best one yet. We are starting to make our exhaust for the lay-on. I have all of the parts that needed. I'm waiting just on a new TIG torch which should arrive later today. Once that arrives I'll be able to weld the system fully, but what we're going to do first is mark it all out, cut it all out, tack it together, get it on the car, make sure everything's right, and then once that's right we can bring it into the shed and weld it all up with a back purge. So here we go, I'm just going to show you all the exhaust parts that we have for the car today. So here we go, we've got some 3-inch stainless, this is all 304. We've got some bends, obviously the 1D 90s, the 1.5D long leg 90s, the 45s, the exhaust tip which you can see here, it is obviously long and large at the moment. We're going to cut that off about there and slip that on. And the awesome silencer from Fabricating, which is a stainless steel manufacturer. All of their pipes and things are just brilliant quality. I mean, this silencer on its own is, as you can see, brilliant really. It's filled with an Acoustic filling, which is quite an expensive filling for exhaust. I didn't want anything too loud, so we opted for the best. This is a 5-inch silencer. We were going to go 6, but we went to 5 just to make sure we had extra room. And you can see the colouring on the welds is just brilliant. I mean, that's hopefully going to be enough to quieten it down a little bit. If it isn't, then we are going to put another silencer into the centre pipe, but we'll see how we go with this first on its own. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spin the car around. It is quite loud at the moment because I haven't got an exhaust on it. It is just a downpipe. I'm going to spin it around, get it up on the ramps and get ready to start working on there. I've just got to undo one clamp underneath first. Once that's undone we can get cracking. I'm looking forward to today. I enjoy doing this sort of thing, so for me this is a fun day. Other than that, we're going to get going. So we've took the aftermarket downpipe centre piece off, and it has a reducer on it which reduces down to the standard exhaust, which is I think 2.5 inch. We measured it up at 2.75. This is now 3 inch, so I cut that bit off the end and have slipped on a slip joint which will get some slits in, and then now it's just a case of sliding this back on the car, marking how much length we need to either cut off here or off the 90-degree bend, and then cut it off. A neat little trick with this is if you get a stainless clamp and you slide it over the end of the pipe, once it's on straight you tighten it down and then cut with that, and it will give you a nice clean straight cut.
Now we've got the exhaust back on the car, we are going to add in a little bit of a spacer, which is about 2 or 3 inches worth of pipe, just to bring that 90-degree further forward and get it to face in the right orientation to add the next bit of pipe and then the next 90 degrees.
Perfect.
With this bit, what we're going to be doing is slightly just tack welding the two bits together so they hold in place. These tack welds aren't very strong, so if it isn't in the right place, we just literally just nick them with a grinder or a hacksaw, take it off, turn it a little bit into where we need it, and then tack it again and make sure we're in the correct position. These are pretty solid, so you can hang a fair amount of weight on them, but not too much. now we've got those bits tack welded, we've put it back on the car. The hanger that I've got hanging underneath here is the standard hanger off the standard exhaust. I just cut the welds and pulled it off and slightly opened it up a bit so we could just get it to sit onto the 3-inch pipe and then hook back through so it sort of retains the factory mounts. And then now what we're going to do is just measure up the next little bits and see where it needs to be sitting. What I'm doing there is just marking the pipe where the hanger's going to sit. Once it comes off again to weld up the next little bit, that will be welded into that position. I've marked it with the permanent marker, and then from that point on, that is exactly where it will sit. There won't be any movement from there because it's already hanging on the hangers and we know everything's right, so we can move forward with the project. Another neat little trick that I've learned is when you've got these silencers under the car, they are quite heavy, they're awkward to hold. Best way to keep them up there, as you can see, use a jack and then put something in there just to hold the silencer still, jack it up to where you want it roughly to be. It makes measuring a lot easier, and just eyeballing everything is so much easier when you've not got the stress of holding on to that. There I am using that trick that I told you earlier, which is to put the Jubilee clip over the end of the tube, and that gives you a nice straight cutting edge. There are obviously other tools you can use, but this is a cheap and effective way of using that. And also, you've probably noticed I'm using a hacksaw. I can use a grinder, which I have got. Just using a hacksaw gives you a much cleaner cut on the exhaust, and when it comes to welding it up, you get a better fit up. So obviously the less gap, the easier it is to weld. With stainless and TIG welding, you need pretty much 0 gap between everything. So every one of these joints, before they got welded, I did clean them up with a flat disc on a grinder and just make sure they're all pretty much level and perfect.
Got the adapter put on here. I've tacked the 90° here, added a small portion here. So it is moving from there. We've now just got to wiggle it about a tiny bit, cut down a 45° bend to come across, and move it about that way to see the actual silencer can go up and down. Just jacking it, it will spin and pivot on the joint back there. So yeah, I'm going to crack on and do that bit and get that bit tacked up now. So we've got that bit cut, we've put it into the exhaust so it comes out from the silencer. I've got to clear some of them rear chassis legs and little bits and bobs. So next bit is to pull that next 45 up and see how much gap we've got for it to sit right in between them rear trailing arms, with enough room and the right orientation for the pipe to sit.
With this bit, we draw a line on the pipe because it's a perfect circle. If you draw a line, no matter what way you spin that, as long as them two lines line up on both bits of pipe, that will always be the same because they are perfectly circular. That's a brilliant way of just sort of quickly marking where it needs to be tacked. You run into the shed, tack it together, and then go and trial fit it. And just like that, we have a centre half of our exhaust all done, all tacked up, ready to test fit. Once that's test fitted, give it a weld up, and that is the first half complete.
Okay, so we've got our 45s in. It's sitting pretty central between that. And I've got loads of clearance over the top. Swap it. And then it goes down to that centre side. So then run that way. So I'm going to pull this bit off and weld all this up. And then weld the hangers onto the exhaust once it's welded.
Now here comes the best part. We have tacked it up. We've now just got to weld it all together, make sure it's all good. We actually back purge this with a argon gas. That argon gas is a shielding gas which removes the nitrogen and the oxygen inside the pipe and gives us 100% argon gas atmosphere. This increases the integrity of the weld and runs the whole way through the pipe. Easy to do. Run one pipe from the canister that we have into the pipe, the exhaust pipe itself, and then at the other end, a bit of tin foil, poke a little hole in it, and the argon pushes all the oxygen out because it is heavier. And then once we do that, it penetrates the whole weld.
Next part of the project is to make this 90 into 2 of these 45s. What you do is you cut it straight down the centre of the pipe, and then what we're going to do is lay this down, weld that onto there, and then we're going to do the same again and then cut down the centre line here of the exhaust. And then once that's all together, we literally push these two parts together and weld them together. So I'm just going to cut this bit now and carry on. So the next job is to basically cut these pipes down in half. So as you can see, that's in half, and then this is the bit that we cut off. What will happen now is I've got to do this side here, which you can see the lines already drawn down the centre. Just cut that off, clean up the edges, push them together and weld them together, and that will be our Y piece all done then. So we have a bit of progress. There's the Y piece all welded up. We've also got the tips welded, all ready to go on. So now I've just got to make the joints between these and the centre pipe, which I'm about to go and tack weld together. Once tack weld together, we can chuck it on. Alright, so there has been a lot of development in what's happened. I had a really bad day yesterday with actually getting the rear of the box to fit. I had it all set up where I wanted it, and everything like that. And once I'd welded it, I hadn't noticed that when I took it off the car, it must have moved a little bit. One of the tips was well out from where it should have been, which stopped me from lifting it up onto the car. It was a bit of a mad day, so I didn't get much footage. So here's just a quick update of whereabouts I'm at the moment. We've got the rear tips mounted. I've just got to move one of them, which is a case of just cutting it and twisting it slightly because it wasn't sitting perfectly straight. Okay, so we've got the tips on here. This one's ever so slightly twisted, so it just needs cutting off along here and then just turning slightly and then tacking back on and making sure we're 100% with whereabouts we want it to be. Weld that back up. The rest of this Y pipe's all done. As you can see, it comes from the centre box all the way up and into here. I did start it yesterday just to see what it sounded like, because this is quite a small centre box, and it is quite loud. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm probably going to put another silencer in the centre section bit here, get that on. But we're going to let this warm up first, because this has got a filling called Acoustifill, which takes a couple of heat cycles to expand properly and quieten the exhaust down, so hopefully that will quieten it down. I've just got this tip on this side replaced to where it should be, because this is the one that moved. All I do is just run the weld around here, and that's it. That side's done. Put it back on the car, well, cut this tip off, put it back on the car, just orientate that tip properly, draw a line, take it back off, weld it back up, and that's it. Job is done with that. Right, so we've got the exhaust tacked up now. I've just got one final weld to do on this tip just along here. Once that's done, weld it up, put it back on the car, and that is job finished. There's not really too much else to do. Just got to, on these two end bits, just find a way of stopping them moving from side to side, and that's it. So should have a startup video in the next sort of half hour or so.
We finished doing all the welding. The exhaust is now on the car. It fits great. There's probably about a finger's gap between the whole way around the diffuser. The pictures show how it actually fits now. It is actually quite loud after I took it for a test drive. It's not too bad. I personally don't mind it too much, but I did sort of think that maybe we should just quieten it down. So I have ordered another silencer, which should be being delivered in the next couple of days. I will get that fitted and do some proper drive videos, so we can actually hear it and everything like that. So thanks again for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time.